Computers are getting faster, artificial intelligence is taking incredible strides, and I've realised that having one brain is not going to cut it. So, I'm taking the next necessary step to compete with the incoming robot overlords. I'm building a second brain. The internet is a crazy place. It's so easy to get distracted with shorts, TikToks, reels, ads in every single nook and cranny. My poor puppy dog style brain uses all of its energy just to try and stay focused, and it's a losing battle. I know I'm not the only one on this. It is cooking us. And it's a weird conundrum. Not only can I access the entire sum of humanity's knowledge in one hand, but I can also run the risk of losing several hours of time doom scrolling into oblivion.
But hey dude, what about AI?
Yeah, sure, I love large language models as much as the next guy, but I'm starting to find it very vague and vanilla and general way to get information. You know, it's great for some things, but it's not great for others. There's got to be a better way. Now, how the heck am I supposed to utilize the information I come across in a reliable way? I've gone through taking notes of the books I read, but since I've started sharing more things online, I've come across the limitations of this haphazard system. Any stat or study I've read, basically all the things I learned at uni, any interesting story or tidbit, any blog post, essay, assignment I've written, it's all out there somewhere. But it's hard to find. And I didn't actually realize that there would come a time when this information, having access to it, would be useful to me. And I think what it requires is an attitude shift. Research as a leisure activity. I came across this idea from a blogger on Substack, Celine Guyen, and when we're at school or uni, we often have to research for a specific purpose, an assignment or essay that's got a due date. There's pressure, and often it's on a topic that we might not necessarily have chosen to explore had we not been in that situation. On top of that, it's assessed and marked and counts to us achieving a next step, a next goal. And then when we're finished, we often forget what we've learned to make way for the next batch of information that we have to hold and accumulate for a short period of time. It's an intense environment, but reading and learning for a lot of people becomes a leisurely pursuit, and it often helps us in places further down the line we couldn't have foreseen coming. Some pillars of the research as a leisure activity philosophy include: research begins with the desire to ask and answer questions. It requires understanding the history, theory, and practices of the disciplines you work within. Research as a leisure activity is directed by passions and instincts. And finally, the research culminates in some output, thereby contributing to the greater sum of human knowledge and culture. Which brings us to how to build a second brain. Take my cues here from the king of personal knowledge management, or PKM, Tiago Forte. He literally wrote the book on how to build a second brain. Tiago says we often consume information at the wrong time, not when we actually need it. And did you know the average person consumes over 34 gigabytes of information every day? That's 174 newspapers and about 5 times as much information as the average person did in 1986. To make use of the valuable information, we need to package it up and send it to our future selves. So when I first started learning about building a second brain, it took me back to grade 9 maths class when I was learning about compounding interest. And I learned how it was one of the most powerful forces in the world, and I didn't quite know how to access it at that time, and I wish I did. This concept feels similar to that. It feels as though this compounding effect of gathering valuable information is something that will be extremely valuable to my future self. And I'm not going to make the same mistake as I did as 14-year-old Jim. No hard feelings, buddy. At its core, building a second brain is about optimizing an external system to help overcome our personal limitations. David Allen, the literal king of getting things done, says, "Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them." An external note-taking system can be as simple as Apple Notes or Google Keep, or as complex and multi-featured as Evernote, Notion, or Obsidian, or my favorite, Capacities. The superpowers of a second brain. There are 4 essential capabilities that we can rely on a second brain to perform for us. Making our ideas concrete, revealing new associations between ideas, incubating our ideas over time, and sharpening our unique perspectives. And basically, it comes down to this framework when consuming information. The code framework. Capture. Save what resonates. Consider if it's inspiring, useful, personal, or surprising. Organize. Use a recommended system like Para, or design your own to prime your mind for action. Distill. Highlight key points for easy rediscovery. Touch each note to make it more discoverable. Express. Shift from consuming to creating. Information becomes knowledge only when we put it to use. Tiago notes that this little system helps us avoid heavy lifting, which he says is basically demanding instant results from our brain at the time we need to recall that information. And we avoid that by having that information in a central system that's easily searchable. In school, notes are disposable and regurgitated for tests. In the professional world, notes are for taking action. You're expected to utilize your notes, not simply regurgitate them. And one last point by YouTuber Sam Mafia, just make sure these apps don't become a form of sophisticated procrastination. A second brain is not a replacement for your actual brain. Make sure to keep thinking. In conclusion, the internet is crazy. Our brains can't cope with the amount of info that's thrust upon us. If we shift our school-based attitude to researching and take a more leisurely stance with the help of a note-taking system and note-taking app or two, we can build our knowledge wealth by compounding it over time. Peace.